What up, everybody? It's Andy from TapTrade.io. Today we're going to be using our proprietary trading indicator known as THOR to navigate the markets. If this is your first time joining, you know that this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is simply me using our tool to help myself navigate the markets. We do provide educational classes, obviously here on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you're finding us. But we also have an active community of traders that you can interact with on Telegram or Discord. If you want to learn more, go to taptrade.io. You can find all of our links there. I usually like to start by going to, let's just jump right into it first up, taptrade.io and then hitting THOR. And I've already logged in, but navigating to the page that shows our win rates. This is all live data. It's updated every 48 hours. And you can see the trades that have won and the trades that have lost. You can see the overall performance on a 1 to 1.5 risk to reward ratio, and at least hitting take profit 1. This right hand side is the last 30 days of signals. On the left hand side is the cumulative total of signals that we've tracked since mid-August 2024. Although, if you don't know, Thor has been alive for 15 years. This is simply the data that we're tracking via our subscription model for manual trading signal access. We provide trading signals. Those trading signals are not crystal balls. They are very helpful in helping you navigate the markets, especially in days like today, where, and if you're wondering why I'm not as animated or whatever, I just saw the dentist yesterday, so my face hurts. But price check 103,726 for Bitcoin. Let's just make sure that this is completely updated. I've also been having some internet shit going on today, so sorry if there's any lag or break in the video. Bitcoin, check today. There was a pretty big pullback, big fear. Trump did some dumb tweet. Look, I'm not here to get political at this point, but it's definitely tumultuous for the markets. And we saw some of that play out. But also at the same point in time, a lot of us were prepared for this from the math side. And we'll talk about that real quickly. But price check, Bitcoin 1045. Solana is 156, and then I had a request from our friend Abby to check out AVAX, currently at 2123, and then Injective, which is pretty far down here now at this point, at 1304. Full disclosure, I started opening up positions a while ago. I do have active positions on AVAX, Jito, and then what's the other one? I can't remember. Whoops, that's not great. Oh, Arweave. I added to my positions at these levels that we just saw today. For me personally, I was pretty willing to, and still willing to, add to more positions at lower levels. As we go through, you're going to see that on all of these assets, there's still a lot of like real big scary calls. And when you're sitting here looking at a big red day, it's really easy to just think worst case scenario at that point. You know, a 10% pullback in a day, bonk, 12% pullback in a day. That's when your emotions are really, really hard to combat or deal with, you know, especially when you can use our system to help yourself sort of get a predictive idea of where the markets could go, and you still see calls for lower. So that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. And we're going to talk about big macro trading today. But timestamp on all of this. Big, bad, red, scary day. Oh, shit. Blah, blah, blah. You know, I'd have to reference my videos beforehand, but I think a lot of the numbers that we're seeing today are things that I had already talked about being pretty aware of, specifically AVAX. Injective hit take profits and all the way up to a short at the 14.56 level. That's all the way blown through take profit 3 at this point. It's not to say, oh my, what a wonderful, perfect scenario this all played out to be, but it is one that I was prepared for. And that if you use THOR, learn how to use THOR, learn how to use TAP, you can be more aware of and at least more prepared for. You plan your trade and then you trade your plan. So, fun stuff. Going through and looking at some of these numbers overall underperforming where we would like to say we're on the right side of probability. That's why you want to reference this live data when you're going through and making your trading choices. Algo has had an under, I think the tolerable threshold, at least in the last 30 days, but overall it's still 2 out of 3. So you can see it's not perfect, and we're not trying to make it seem like it's perfect. The biggest thing trading comes down to is risk management. Lots of people have really great signals. Y'all can copy trade how we trade. Y'all can throw a bunch of leverage on there. And at the end of the day, it's not about the signals winning 62% of the time. It's about if you can adjust yourself for the risk of the other, 38% of the time that it doesn't. That's the big part of distinguishing yourself as a trader opposed to just sort of like a fucking gambler. I don't want to be like too calloused about it. I get it. When you have low capital, you take more risk. And I'm so supportive of that. And I understand it. But when you really are looking to just stack gains, stack money, make money reliably, preserving your wins is just as important as making them in the first place. And that's where your risk management comes into play. So, Boomer Soapbox done. I'm going to talk really quickly about a tool that we offer through TapTrade known as THOR Pro. And this is our subscription model access. This is every single signal that we have, I don't even want to say diluted, but really just pro mode. It's get to the trade you want to get to with the tolerances and criteria that you set as quickly as you can. This is what I think a more typical UI is for just like high level trading stuff. You don't care how pretty it is. Don't waste my time with fluff and filler. Get to the trade. And so when you have subscription access, if you have subscription access, you can navigate to THOR Pro just by clicking that button right there. And it will take you to this interface right here. It looks a lot different than Ask Thor if you're using our paper request system. There's only access to our signals that you have via your subscription, and those are only cryptos. And so if you're a stock trader, if you're a Forex trader, you're still using our Ask Thor system. But if you really primarily focus on crypto, or if that's just a part of your subscription, boom, Ask Thor. It's the easiest way to get to your trade. Now, up here, top left-hand corner, you can navigate between the minimum delta that you want, your minimum take profits, or your profits in between your entry point and first take profit are a minimum of 10%. You can isolate whether you want to trade 15-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, 1 day time frames, or if you're going to be conformationally biased long or short. The big thing I like on big movements like today, and even if you don't have access to this, but your friend does, this is still just a really awesome snapshot to get. Hey man, what the fuck is going on? What hit today? You click active. And that is a big old list of stuff that has currently hit the entry point and has not been invalidated. There is an invalidation level built into the 1 to 1.5 risk to reward calculator for qualifying our signals as a win. And so if it hits that virtual stop loss, it will disappear from active signals and move over to the invalidated section found on the regular THOR. All of this fun, blah, blah that Sile, our chief developer, has built aside, this is the nitty gritty for when you get really serious about trading, is THOR Pro. Now, I want to just come in because I was out yesterday. I've been super effed up and not feeling great. And I just need to know, hey, what's hit? Which of my limit orders should I expect to have hit? And what can I be looking at in terms of direction? Temporarily, macro, whatever. And I see, all right, we got one long 15 on Bitcoin right on. Currently into take profit. That's just hit take profit 1. Where'd it go? Whoops. So cool, right on. That signal worked out. 1 hour near long, I don't really give a shit. Bitcoin, XRP, cross, I don't really care. Now we get into some stuff that I do care about. 4 hours. Bigger macro market direction signals. Hey, buys at 4 hours are really good support indicators, right? Buys at 1 day are once again really good indicators. 1 day signals. That's what I need to look at to manage my own emotions today. Let's just get really honest here. I need to know, hey, fuck, are we hitting those lower levels, or are we hitting some support right now? And across the board, my first glance look at this says, all right, man, we hit a lot of support. Jito, I had this on my radar for a long time. I come back to my trading account and I have a Jito long, currently sitting down 0.16% from the margin I put into it. So I'm at entry on that 4-hour signal. Right on. I don't want to go through and just like focus on my own trading account, but it's a funny account too. AVAX still showing an active 1-day signal. We did hit some 1-hour signals on AVAX that I know about because I looked at this beforehand and subsequently did invalidate them because it continued to dip. We'll look at AVAX and we'll look at Injective right after this because you're going to need to know, hey, what do I do now? We know we have an active long. We've had this long for weeks. These are one of those signals that do get really boring. They do get really hard to hold conviction to if you're impatient. But it's also sitting there still bouncing around with a 67% return on the table. Injective long at 19.20 basically to 18. We hit it. We surpassed it. We are still in that range. Oh my God, which feels like forever. But it's really only been like a couple of weeks. It's really not been that bad. Dot, I don't know where it's at right now. And then we got a bunch of 1-day longs. So just for the today, bunch of red. I know that we've hit some little macro, whatever you want to call it, 4-hour support. And we're currently testing to see whether or not we have more to go down or if we're going to go up. I'm going to quickly switch. I'm going to look at Jito real quick. And then I'll go to AVAX and I'll go to Injective. All right. Solana. Nope. Jito. So we've had this signal, excuse me, for a long time. This 1.6 that we just hit, it's showing active now, obviously. There's a 7 to 12% delta on that. I love that. I'm going to take profit 1 king right here. So boom, 1.8. I got that set. I think I even set it lower to front run it. And I think I did a 1-to-1 risk to reward, 7%. Pretty good. I did apply a little bit of leverage to it, so it's not a technical 1-to-1. But in terms of profit versus loss, it is. No big deal. Now, you say, all right, cool, man. We're at a really big macro support. Should I long the fuck out of Jito right now? You're telling me your 4-hour signals slap, Andy. Let's see exactly how much of the time they slap. And if it's over 50%, I'm happy with it. And it's right at 50%. Okay, that's 30 days. Now I move over 64%. Okay, macro, overall, still great. 2 out of 3. 1-day signals overall, 90%. Pretty wild. Now let's dig in. I know that the 4-hour, at least in the 30 days, is 50-50. Now it's macro 63, whatever. So I'm still confident that that's a decent signal to take. I did take it. But I'm also going to sit here and look right here at these shorts because these invalidation levels on the shorts serve as support. If you fall through support at 1.5, you're likely moving in the direction of these long signals that we've had sitting here forever. Also, I don't say forever, a couple months. All the way down to 67 cents. So, that being said, on this long, what I'm going to do is pretty much set my stop loss slightly below the invalidation level here. Am I going to lose some money temporarily? Yes, but what I'm going to expect to do is to re-enter around this trade right here. And look, if we don't get all the way down there and I get stopped out of a trade, hey man, that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. No big deal. But also, the alternative is if I preserve some of my capital by using this invalidation level to help me set my stop loss. We took the 4-hour short. You can run your own risk to reward. You know that there's at minimum a 7% trade on the table. Okay. You should be willing to do probably like a 1-to-1, a 1-to-1.5, whatever it is, your leverage, all of that depends. But I know, personally speaking, that I am going to set a stop loss, a little bit below where that invalidation level is because we still have 1-day signals that are just, I think a lot more realistic than when we first got them. And, you know, it was $3. So we were calling for $1 Jito when Jito was $3, basically. Yeah. 218. Where are we at? 218. Sorry, this is always just fun. I don't know how to find the exact date. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, so Jito was $2.64, and we were calling for $1 Jito. We also called for $3 and something cent Jito, and we all took along at $3.80 or $2.60. It played out, but we were still calling for this as like a, oh my god, that won't happen. We're gonna invalidate it. Oh, we're going up to $5. But in the back of your mind, you know, hey, that's what max pain looks like. If they're trying to give us max pain, I know what it's gonna look like, and that's it. So anyways, the 4-hour signal that I just took, that we just found via THOR Pro, that I had known about beforehand just because I trade Jito, you know, you can still hop into it and say, well, what do I want to do from a risk calculated perspective? Let's just look at it real quick. You're still in range. 166. You're still a little bit below in range. This is still a valid signal for entry on. Your risk to reward, it's not to say go out and throw your house at it, but this is still a valid trade. It didn't get invalidated on the additional drop from that channel right there. You know, we filled at least that portion of the fair value gap. We hit right in between those two candles right there on the dailies, or we are 4 hours. We've gone through. That's all been filled now completely. It's not a bad place to take a risk-managed trade on Jito using proper stop loss. And why I'm going to use the one-day signal is just to know that that invalidation level right there, I'm going to probably set my stop loss at like 145. I'm not going to apply a bunch of leverage. And so it's not going to be like a crazy dip for me if we get down a little bit below that. And then I'll probably set my take profit somewhere around BEP. Just get out of the trade and or run my risk. If I hit stop, whatever. So that's personally how I'm using THOR for Jito. No big deal. Trade active, right on. Hopefully we come back and it's a win. Maybe I come back and I say, hey, this was not a win, but I'll tell you. Moving on to AVAX. Let's actually start with Injective. We played Injective. Awesome. Injective's been great trading over the last couple of weeks. Hit down here, took my $10, got out, yada, yada, yada. Where are we at now? Big old fair value gap posted. We see a bunch of green right there that needs to probably come back and get filled, or that's where it's posted for the remainder of an upcycle if we do continue up. And that's where we'll come back after people buy in much higher. We'll see. You know, you still got stuff up here that needs to be revisited. And when I say up here, you know, I'm looking at just random candles, you know, and I have no idea where the charts are on all of this. 15. Yeah, so right there where we've been hitting resistance. All right, so cool. Injective, 1 day and 1 hour. That's all we got. 1 day. It still shows $10 Injective is on the table. Right all the way down here. Eliminating all of the gains from these green candles. Back to back to back to back to back. Completely filling back. No surprise. You know, boom. That's the $8 one, excuse me. That's all the way back. But the $10 range fills this fair value gap right here. It sits right there in the middle of that lower candle bar. No big surprise that there's a signal. Looking at the invalidation level just at a glance, you'll know I really try not to get, I'm not too technical, but looking at that 1550-ish, you know, I've seen that a couple times. Where have I seen that? Well, I've seen it painted on the chart, you know, all around here. All right, boom, resistance. Did it serve as support at some point and then flip to resistance? It looks like it did relatively recently in August. Boom. That's 13. 15. 1550-ish. You know, you don't have to get too crazy, but boom. Big pocket. Big pocket. Flips to resistance. Flips to resistance. Currently still flipping to resistance right here. Haven't even really gone back to test it all the way. Okay, cool. Now that I've charted a little bit more, now that I know a little bit more personally, cool, you can go and look at it. But how it started was really looking at the invalidation levels and then just sort of putting them on the chart and seeing where the lines add up, and then eventually researching it more and fucking learning. But, this is still just a very basic way of using THOR. Invalidation at 15. That's the macro resistance we're seeing. Or if it doesn't break, which currently we just tried it once, if it doesn't break through that, then $10 and $8 still on the table. That's again max pain. On the alternative side of this, that's also a lot of people who up until, recently were pretty bearish on everything, flipped bullish recently. And then what happened? While we were taking profits, not trying to be a dick here, but while we were taking profits, people were buying our bags. And that's a good feeling when you're selling at opportune moments. And at the same point in time, you know when to go back in to those same assets that you probably just sold your $8 injective. If I get the opportunity to buy back at $8 again, I'm really happy about that. Otherwise, meanwhile, people who bought at 14-ish are really unhappy about that. Now, when you're playing with profits, it's a little different. But with this injective trade specifically, just coming at it flat right now, I wouldn't buy a ton of injective. I don't have anything telling me to buy in a range that we've hit and or seen right now. $12 or so maybe. But yeah, I'll set buys from the injective I sold at 10 to 8. If you wanted to trade injective, or if you had an active trade going on right now, you need to expect to at least experience some market volatility around 1550 again. It's only gone back and tested it once. Pretty sharp fucking rejection of it if we're looking at it, just simply right here. All right, do we see $10 first as a complete back test and refill of this, or do we just pump right past through? Generally speaking, it's never the path that's easiest, especially with trading. I would not be surprised to see $10 injective again, but I think that we give people too good at entries if we give them $8. My plan on injective is to remain completely aware that we're maybe going to see $10. I expect us to bounce up. If you're in a trade right now and you're profitable, you want to say, do I want to close right now or do I want to wait? I wouldn't be surprised if we dance around 15 again before we see $10. But let's just see if Thor gives us anything. This is one day right here. Big old macro. I said I wasn't going to talk a bunch, and here I am giving my face off. Boop, 1 hour. All right, cool. Look at that. It's almost like it just starts clicking, and it does. I'm not special, y'all. I'm a bad trader compared to a lot of the people in our community. All right? It just clicks at a point. All right, boom, fair value gap posted. Thanks, Mode, whose classes you can join Tuesdays and Thursdays, Market Flow with Mode, in our Discord. Great guy, great trader. Boom, fair value gap. He taught me a lot to watch out for. Now we've gone back and we've refilled half of it right here. Do we fill the rest of it, taking us down to 12? Doesn't matter because I don't have anything telling me to buy at 12. The newest thing I have is telling me to buy at 10. What I was saying earlier was it's not going to be a surprise to go back and retest that 1550 level. If you're in a trade that you have a really good entry on and you don't want to deal with seeing if you're going to break resistance and all that jazz, and you're just trying to close out a profitable trade, you can do so below that resistance and still be happy and walk away. This is a signal that does not invalidate that 1550 invalidation level on the 1 day. So this is shorting essentially what is resistance or right before resistance. Your invalidation's at 12.9, which we just got up to kissing right here, and it just generated today, it looks like. So it generated after that dump. So now we're in look and see if this happens territory. And same for this 15. But I'm not surprised to see that there's a big possibility on the table to not only refill back up and retest the opposite way, but retest that big macro resistance right here. And that's super common, especially on one-day signals. Those invalidation levels, you'll see a couple times. It's not uncommon. Big macro resistance doesn't always just get smashed through first run, So, yeah, that's my take on Injective. Questions in the Discord. Hell yeah. I assume I explained it perfectly then. Let's check and see what we got. All right, so what up? Oh, I hear someone. If we don't have questions, I'll move on to AVAX. So this is another one that the automated vault's trading. This has been a great signal to finally see for AVAX right here. I don't know if we got somebody hot micing. Oh, Calvin, you're hot micing, bro. But if you have questions, just let me know. Yeah, you got it, dude. So, AVAX. This is another one that the automated vault's trading. This is another one that a lot of our traders have traded. AVAX is a great chain, got a lot going for it, yada, yada, yada. It's just something we've been trading. Same with AVAX or Injective. We've all traded a lot of Injective lately. AVAX overall, 60%, not the highest on our threshold, still 2 out of 3, wonderful. 61% over the last 30 days, right on. 100% of the 4-hour signals have hit at least take profit 1, that's awesome. One day. People started building long positions on AVAX a little too soon. That's what happened. Even myself included, not to a crazy degree, but I started buying AVAX earlier, $23. I knew that $20 was on the table, and I have all of my orders set to DCA in all the way down. That's how I play it when there's a bunch of signals stacked on top of each other. We talked about it last week. There was a bunch of longs and a bunch of shorts, and I said, hey, if you're new, this isn't the asset to trade right now. Too much noise. You can just eliminate it. But if you know how to use it, these are your DCA zones. I have started to build a long position on AVAX. That is my entry perfect? No, it's not. But I'm basically backtracking to the one day. I'm basically... Hey, Cave.
Hello?
Hey, all right. Cave, you're hot micing, but it's good to see you, bro. Anyways, so AVAX, we built that position up. And look, we are already in this entry right here, 1997. Same around the end of this invalidation level right here. We now have a long signal, again, back at basically the top of this range right here, $20. Do we want to see $20 AVAX again? Not really. I don't. I'm ready for it to break out of this channel and start doing what I want it to do, which is move towards take profit 1 on this. Will I buy it again after having traded, bought, and sold at 4-hour? Yes, I will. I will buy at 2073 again. Now, this gives me an optimistic outlook right here. $20 AVAX is nice to see. We haven't seen a ton of AVAX short signals on the big one day. We saw one at 26. We hit it, I believe. Yeah, we hit it. There was one signal right here, right on, cool. It's great to see one higher. It's great to see one moving towards those take profit levels I want to see. This gives me, a little bit more and patting me on the back that, hey man, your trade's going well. And these are my first take profit points for any perpetual order that I have. These are my only take profit points right now, 28. I'm happy to hold. I do not mind holding a long-term AVAX position right now, unless my funding gets to be insanely wild and you're paying just exorbitant fees, but it's fine. Currently, do we have anything on the lower time frame? We got some 4 hours. That $20 signal that's on the 1 hour, right here, once again. And basically the one-day signal. They are going to bore you. Did we hit that? Did we get really close to hitting that today? Oh, look at that. Wow. So maybe you got that filled on some exchanges. On at least Bybit, it doesn't look like it filled. But look at that. Just a couple of pennies off back into that entry. Now I expect we see $22.74 AVAX from where we're at right now. I think we go to $22.74. Let's see what happens over the weekend. Overall, I'm still building my AVAX position. Now I'm building it on perps. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're building on spot, which is better for these long-term holds. But still, if you're still just trading spot, right on. If you're trading perps, a low leverage is what I really encourage. Not because I'm afraid of fucking people gambling or whatever. Do what you got to do. But because this is the territory you get absolutely effed in. You know, when they open up, like, let's just look right here. All three of my trades are negative right now. I don't mind. I have an entry price currently still within my risk to reward threshold that I'm ready to take that $28 short on. And I'll make a decent amount of money. I will buy more and have orders set for that $20 order. And same with that Jito 4-hour that I took. That is just a single trade. I either hit my stop loss or I don't. Or with AVAX and Arweave, I build my position, adding to the overall trade balance because I think I'm happy to hold longer and get those take profit points that I want. $28 AVAX is on my radar. Potentially $10 Injective is on my radar, but I think that we're going to retest those $15 highs first. If you got an active trade going on and you're looking to take profit, maybe a little bit late, it's not the worst place to do so. We also have a short right above that at 1576, which does invalidate a lot of those long signals that are big and scary right now. Those are the key points I'm looking at on those assets. Y'all know I'm not out here trying to predict the market. I'm out here trying to be prepared for either way, you know, and that's really what THOR is it's a tool to prepare you for either way. Biggest things, come and join us in Discord. Really join the Telegram. We're just getting the Telegram going. We have a really established community on Discord, and that's really where a lot of us live right now. But we're transitioning slowly over to Telegram. And it's the easiest way for you who are finding these on YouTube and TikTok. If you do want to really like talk to the community using it and not just think I'm some like random head talking BS right now, join the Telegram and come and talk to the users. There's a ton of people in there who use THOR. If you find yourself using the Ask THOR system for whatever it is, stocks, Forex, cryptos, and you have questions on it, that's the best place to come and talk to other people instead of just guessing on it on your own. We are always here to help. We are always down to help. Our community has been with us for, 4 years at this point, a lot of them, and they know THOR almost as well as I do. So it's a really additionally great resource to have while you're trading. So I highly encourage you to do that. Before I bounce, I can just I'll end the recording and then we can just hang out in the Discord. That's what I'm going to do. So anyways, peace out, y'all. I'll see y'all soon, maybe. I don't know. I'll be gone for a month. But if not, we have tons of great content that's going to get put out, including shorts from other trading classes that we provide in our community, as well as a stock-focused class by a new teacher of ours that we're excited to introduce to everyone, Papi Churro. He will be joining us and focusing on stocks primarily, which will be fun. That's it for me. I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.